you lovely lot, and welcome to the National League Natter. I'm Lauren, as usual, and I'm joined with Aaron, also as usual. And, we're here for another week of talking about this beautiful, beautiful league. Although I say another week, we weren't actually here last week, were we, Aaron?
No, hello, mate. First of all, nice to see you again. And yeah, we've had a week off, recharged our batteries because last week there was no league action. It was the return of the greatest cup competition in the world, the FA Cup, and quite a lot of our National League sides got through and succeeded, which we will touch upon very briefly at the start of the show, including my boys. So I can't really complain. Obviously, the draw for the first round was on Monday evening, so we know who we're getting in the first round as well. So we'll touch upon that very briefly. But it is nice to be back with a bit more structure now and talking about the league again after that, I guess. But yeah, looking ahead to looking back on the FA Cup weekend, there was some big results and also some big shocks, I think you would say. Do you think that's correct, Lauren?
Yeah, there's some massive shocks, to be fair. Definitely some cup upsets, which, is kind of what we love about the cup, especially the Gateshead game. That gave me a good surprise.
Well, yeah, so I think that's a perfect place for us to start, really. So Gateshead were playing. I'm going to get this right. I hope I'm going to get this right. Hednesford, is that how we're saying it?
Hednesford?
Hednesford, Hednesford, whatever it is, we apologise. Congratulations, but we apologise. Anyway, so their first game ended in a 1-1 draw at home to Gateshead, meaning that they got put into the draw on Monday night, but they knew to get through to that draw they had to go to Gateshead's Athletic Stadium and get a result, which to many people's surprise they did, and they did quite comfortably in the end, and they won 3-1. And I think it's exactly what the FA Cup is about, isn't it, Lauren? I think that they're well down the pyramid, and Gateshead are one of the National League's informed teams, one of the teams that kind of strikes fear into the other teams in the National League, and it just shows. I think the FA Cup always provides to be a really like a real sort of leveler, doesn't it? Like anything can happen, Like I think teams will play at the FA Cup at any level. Like it's a game of their lives because the money that comes with the FA Cup and the exposure that comes with the FA Cup is so vital to these teams, isn't it?
100%. I mean, it literally is. We always call it the magic of the cup. Like it does feel like there is a chance for any team to beat any team on a good day, and like that's just the evidence of it. I do very much enjoy seeing teams and cup upsets. As much as I know every team's had their cup upsets. We were shots beat Stockport last year, kicked us out. And that was, I guess, a surprising score. But I do enjoy seeing sort of lower league teams, especially in this case, a much lower league team. I can't remember what level they are in the pyramid.
I think they're either 8 or 9. I think
quite
so
far down.
That's
So.
like 4 or 5 levels from where we are.
Yeah. So it's awesome. I love that part of the FA Cup, although it does kind of feel like it sucks when it happens to you. But I will be really interested to see whether they can get through the next round.
Listen, I'll always be fond of the FA Cup because as an Oldham fan, it's been my only sort of bright moments of my time watching Oldham to this point. Beating Liverpool, drawing to Everton at Boundary Park, then going to Goodison Park. And we've had some great moments. Fulham in the FA Cup a couple of years ago. So yeah, I'll always have like big respect and big love for the cup. Just to run you down some other results from the FA Cup and the FA Cup replays that caught my attention. So Boston United, who are obviously new boys in the National League this year, lost 4-0 at home to Gainsborough Trinity, which obviously that's going to hurt. That's going to sting because that is a battering, if we're being honest. And you also had Brackley Town beating Hartlepool United in the replay 3-1 at home. Maidenhead got the job done against lower opposition, to be fair to them. They beat Taunton Town 3-0. And then Solihull Moors beat Altrincham 3-1 on penalties. So that was two National League sides going at it and battling it. And then some of the bigger results from the Saturday, from the one-off games on Saturday, you have Barnet turning over Chelmsford 4-0. No real surprise there, I guess. York beat Biggleswade 3-1. Braintree got through thanks to a 1-0 Bishop Stortford result. And then you had Sutton getting through against Chertsey Town. This is what I love about the FA Cup, Lauren, as well, because it pushes you for your pronunciations, because there's everyone in the FA Cup at this stage, you know. Some of the teams, I'll be honest, I've never heard of, but it's great. And then obviously
I do miss the qualifiers. They're the best part of it.
Yeah.
Qualifying rounds.
So Sutton winning that game actually got them a first round draw against Birmingham City, which is as good of a tie you could probably ask for at this point, really, if you're being honest. Big money Birmingham now, you know, Tom Brady and his millions and millions of dollars. It's going to be an interesting night for the Amber Army, I'm sure. And then obviously Oldham and Rochdale got very convincing wins against fellow National League opposition, which is always nice. It's especially nice considering Oldham had to bounce back from a league defeat, and we did that. And we did it in style, because it's the first ever time we've ever beat Halifax. And to be honest, at half time, if it would have been 6-1 Oldham, I don't think anyone in that stadium would have batted an eyelid. Halifax were, I mean, I won't say what I put in the group chat at the time of halftime, but they were really, really, really poor, and they just didn't show out. We won the game 4-2 in the end, but it was 4-1 at halftime, and the game was done. Rochdale won 4-1 away from home against Fylde, and yeah, just an all round good FA Cup weekend, really, for the majority of the division.
Indeed.
But moving on now, back to league action, because we are coming up to match day 14 in the National League. Just before we look ahead to this weekend's fixtures, do you want to give us a brief little rundown and tell people, in case they've forgotten because of the week's break, what your game of the week was from last week?
I can indeed. My game of the week last week was, well, it was 2 weeks ago now, no?
Yeah.
It was the Oldham Solihull game, which I think will be the final time you give me an Oldham game as my Loz Game of the week. I feel like every time you give me Oldham, you always end up losing.
Yeah, you just put like a juju curse on us.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, this league and me, we've got an interesting relationship when it comes to, things that, I mean, I'm trying to, how am I
predictions?
yeah.
Sorry about that. I just got a really bad cough.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But no, I seem to jinx things in this league. I think that's the best way of putting it. So maybe you should not give me Oldham anymore, because Oldham and Solihull ended in a win for Solihull, unfortunately for Aaron, but fortunately for Solihull fans. So
swings and roundabouts, eh?
Swings and roundabouts. It ended up being 3-2. Pretty decent game. I think there was, there's some debates about some of the goals, specifically the third goal for Solihull. I have watched the goal. The angle is interesting. But I'm gonna take the word of the people that are there, that were there, that had a better view, that call it miles offside.
I'd just like to preface, right? I did say off camera, if Oldham scored this goal, I would have been like, wow, we've just got away with an absolute robbery, because the guy was probably about 2 yards offside. And what made it worse, the linesman was up with play as well. Like that they're the worst ones. Sometimes if the linesman's a bit slow and a bit overweight on the sideline, and you understand why they're a bit further behind play, you can let it off a little bit, But it was it was like right in front of him. I don't know how he's not seen it. Anyway, I'm over it. We've won a game since.
You're over it.
Carry on, yeah.
Yeah. So some people might say it was offside. There were murmurings of that online as well. But I mean, it was a pretty decent goal. It was a very late one as well. It was like 90+3 or something like that. It was definitely a late. Well, I mean, there were 2 late goals. It was 90+3 for Solihull, and then 90+6 for Oldham. But it was, it was an exciting game. Some good goals. Good for the partisan watcher. Lots of goals, lots of excitement, and a little bit of controversy, but nothing.
If I'm looking at the game, like taking my Oldham spectacles off for a second, it was obviously, like you say, it was a very entertaining game, but also I think Solihull are weaker than where they were last year, but I also think they came with a game plan and they structured it well and they executed it well, unfortunately for us. And then it was like watching prime Arsenal as soon as they got into that lead, because they brought all the dark arts out. Laurie Walker, the goalkeeper, got a booking for time wasting. They were taking like 5 minutes every throw in. Like all of the dark arts come out, and you know what? As a little bit of a shithouse myself, I appreciate it. I appreciate it, because if Oldham were in that position, I'd want to do the same. But yeah, I thought it was a structured and perfect sort of like smash and grab sort of away performance for Solihull, really.
Which you've got to respect. You've got to respect games that are won like that, I think. You've got to win games in lots of different ways if you're going to do well in a league. And to come away to Boundary Park, which, I guess is not a bad place to go. I don't give compliments very often, so take it.
She does if she wants to keep a job.
Yeah, exactly. Well, to be fair, I think you'll keep me on for some other reasons anyway. Boosting your ego, I guess. But no, I think it was a good game. Lots of excitement. You've got to love 5 goals in a game, and a little bit of shithousery always is nice.
Yes.
But I don't. Other than the offside call, I don't think the ref did too bad of a job.
No, I actually don't. I have to agree. I mean, I would never say a referee is great in this division, but I think they were sort of middle of the road, as sort of bog standard average as National League referees can be, really. So that's probably a compliment, I would say, at this point. So yeah, but is that enough of that? And can we stop scarring me? And shall we move on to this week's rundown of the games?
Let's do so.
So this week, Lauren, I'll do what I always do every week, top to bottom, and then we'll pick out a few that stand out for us and give our reasonings. So you've got Aldershot versus Eastleigh, Altrincham versus Gateshead, Boston versus Halifax, Dagenham and Redbridge versus Fylde, Forest Green versus Braintree, Maidenhead United versus Hartlepool United, Solihull Moors versus Barnet, Sutton United versus Oldham Athletic, Tamworth versus Woking, Wealdstone versus Yeovil, York versus Ebbsfleet, and Rochdale versus Southend in the enhanced coverage DAZN game at 5:30. So straight away, I'll go in with a couple that stick out for me here. I think you've got I think the likes of Maidenhead and Hartlepool and Altrincham and Gateshead stick out for reasons we'll touch upon a little bit further. But obviously, 2 of them teams in Hartlepool and Gateshead Hartlepool are currently managerless at the minute, and Gateshead have just literally appointed a manager in the last couple of days. So I always think the first games for new managers are really interesting. So they're ones that would kind of stick out for me. I also think Solihull Moors away for Barnet is a tricky game. I would expect Barnet to win, but I do think if Solihull Moors can slowly but surely start to find a bit more of the form that they troubled people with last year, that could be a difficult game for them. I think Wealdstone versus Yeovil, I think, Wealdstone are sort of in the territory now of like almost kind of desperation needing to pick up wins. They've only got one win in 13 games. So I think that is a big game for Wealdstone. If they don't get a positive result, I could potentially see a manager change there. And the fourth one I'll leave you off is I will give my thoughts on Dagenham and Fylde. So with this one, I think obviously Fylde came off the back of the last league game Fylde played was a big win for them in the league, but then obviously in the FA Cup they got battered at home to Rochdale, so I think they'll be needing a response, and I think Dagenham and Redbridge are obviously maybe underperforming ever so slightly, especially considering where we probably expect them to be and probably where they were last year at times. So maybe this is both teams that need to get back on the the wins path and get back on a decent run of form. So that's my thoughts anyway for these games. What about you, Loz? Have you spotted anything different?
I don't know whether I've spotted anything different. I mean, I agree with a lot of what you've said. I think that the Rochdale Southend will be relatively interesting. I think Southend, where they are, I don't know whether this is just me personally and where they were kicking around towards the end of last season, but I think that they've been having a bit of a shocker. I'll be honest. Obviously Rochdale are coming, like Southend at some point need to turn around and have a sort of.
The thing is, I'm not just saying this again, so don't come for me. Like, grow up. But I do think at some point, like you say, it is gonna click for Southend. I do think they are strong enough with the investment and with the playing squad that they've got to be higher than where they are. Whether it'll click against Rochdale this weekend, I'm not too sure, to be honest, because
no, especially with Rochdale coming off of such a dominant performance.
I was going to say, even though it pains me to say it, Rochdale look very good this year. So I think any team that kind of beats Rochdale are doing well in this division, and I just don't know whether Southend have got that in them at the minute. But it's 5:30 in front of the TV cameras. We've seen teams go in front of TV cameras and produce one-off performances, a bit like us last year against Barnet. I remember that in that game, Barnet away, a lot of people were writing us off and thinking, "Oh, Oldham don't have a chance." And then something just clicked on the day, that's all it takes. We won 4-1. And everyone was like, oh my God, Oldham actually looked pretty decent here. And, I think sometimes maybe psychologically without realising it, players at this level as well, probably because it's not as readily available as like the Championship or the Prem or even League One. When you're on TV, I think you raise your levels a little bit more, even if you don't realise you're raising your levels. And I think it is a bit more of a deciding factor than people probably think.
Yeah. I also think that the Gateshead game will be quite interesting. I just think that Gateshead now have to come and pull something back after, the disappointment of the FA Cup.
Well, they got the new manager bounce now. Obviously, Carl Magny is in ex-player, a very beloved ex-player by the Heed, as I can see, and from what I've been reading. And should we just touch upon that quickly before we do the rest of the games for this week, just while we're on that topic? I think for me it's a really interesting appointment because I didn't really know where Gateshead were going to go, and we spoke about on this podcast previous about how when Williamson left, they had Rob Elliott already in the club and already in that sort of structure of play to take over. And they didn't have that once Rob Elliott left because he took the next best thing with him on his coaching side. So Gateshead fans were worrying. So what better way to do that than employ an ex-club legend and somebody that understands the club and gets it and has been playing that style of football as a player. Yes, it's going to be difficult to translate that style of play from a player to a manager, especially if you've never done it before. But I think it's probably as good of an appointment for Gateshead as they probably could have got in terms of somebody that understands the club, understands what it means to the fans, and hopefully still sort of plays that sort of same style.
Yeah, I think definitely, especially because a lot of issues with new managers is they can have the perfect idea of how they want the teams to play, but a lot of it is club culture, especially at this level. Like, you've really got to have your fans behind you. You've really got to have the team behind you and have that sort of sense of club culture. And I think getting a old club legend in who may know the way that they want to play, but also has the backing of the club and the team and the fans are, because the fans will be willing to, because it will be a change and it might not click in for a few games if it's just the way of getting used to coaching and things like that. But I think that the fans will be willing to give it a minute and watch it develop and see it grow. And I think that it's a really, really interesting like position, but I think that it could work out really well for Gateshead.
I think just play devil's advocate on the back of this, and this is something I've always thought about, like ex players or ex managers going for a second time or whatever it might be, is you're always running that risk of, like, touch wood it doesn't happen, but say it goes horribly wrong for Gateshead and he gets sacked after 89 games after losing 8 on not that I can see it happening, but just worst case scenario, yeah, that happens. Do you think it kind of sours how the fans would remember him as a player if you do such a bad job as a manager? Do you think there's always running that risk of, like the best sort of real life analogy I can add up is they always say, don't they, you should never go back to an ex.
Yeah.
And like it's similar, isn't it? I just worry that if it does go wrong or something doesn't work out, will that sort of reputation and how the fans see him be soured, do you think?
I mean, you're asking this as someone who, in my lifetime, as a Stockport fan, I've had so many ex-players come back as managers. Like, because you've got Jim Gannon and you've got Dave Challoner, and I mean, they have also been successful. So I think it's a bit of a harder question for me to answer, because they've both seen success in their time. But obviously, Jim left with some, he was like got rid of because our scores ended up not being brilliant at the end. But I think you can separate the two, and you can see a player and your history with them as a good thing and just say it didn't work out as a manager. And I think people can see that and respect the difference.
Yeah.
I think it is doable to say, like, you will still be a club legend as a player, but it just never worked out as a manager. I think it is very much doable.
Yeah, it's definitely one that intrigues me, definitely. And while we're also touching upon managerial announcements and departures, there's also been a managerial departure this week. And I think it's one that's been brewing for a while, really, if we're being honest, Lauren. It's Darren Sarll at Hartlepool United, unfortunately, got relieved of his duties this week. And to be honest, like I said, I feel like this one's been coming for a while. I looked at the appointment and I looked at how Hartlepool were doing so far this season, and a lot of the sort of things you sort of associate with a Sal team, Hartlepool don't have a lot of. They don't look like they look like they have a bit of a soft underbelly at the minute. They don't look like they have a lot of that grit and determination, and that's what he kind of built his career off. So I guess when you get that marriage off a little bit, it's always going to end badly, isn't it? And look, it was quite a short tenure for Sal. I guess that's the only thing you could say. Maybe he deserved a little bit more time, but with like a team like Hartlepool that is obviously ex EFL and probably has lofty ambitions for where they are in the National League right now, which is, I'm just going to have a look.
16.
So they are currently
16. They are
16th, yeah. and before the win, the last time they played in the league, they had gone four losses on the bounce before that. So it's not good enough at a team of Hartlepool standards, really. So I think change needed to happen. Sorry, but I think obviously maybe on the flip side, you could argue that maybe he deserved a bit more time. But I think for that one, I think the appointment now is going to be crucial for Hartlepool because they employed Kevin Phillips not long ago, and stuff in the background led to him leaving quite early on into his reign, and then obviously they then employed Darren Sarll. So they've had two managers in the space of maybe 6, 7, 8 months. So they have to get the next one right, really. And I'm gonna throw a rogue shout out for someone. Geographically, it might not match up, but I can't see him staying out of a job for a long time or much longer. I wonder whether this is the time that Pete Wild comes in to a team like Hartlepool and retakes a job and drops back into the National League. And I think if Hartlepool do decide to go down that road and he does accept the job or get the job or whatever, like I say, we don't have any intel. This is just my opinion. Then I think Hartlepool will finally be on the path back to a successful season. So next up then, shall we finish off on the fixtures for this week, and then I'll give you your game of the week for next week.
Yes, let's have a look at the rest of them.
So game of the week. Well, it's definitely not going to be Oldham this week, that's for sure. You know what? Actually, I talked about the desperation of them needing to get a win, so hopefully with you watching them, you can put the positive curse on them. I'm going to give you Wealdstone versus Yeovil.
Okay.
Because
that's
like
an interesting one. I hope I don't jinx them. But...
Like I said, I think they're in like desperate measures at the minute, really. And then if we were to pick a joint tie of the round, what are you sort of leaning towards? I think there's 3 for me. Is there any that are sticking out to you?
I mean, we've discussed a couple already of ones that stick out. I mean, you've got Barnet, but I think Barnet's just in such an impressive form at the moment. The Solihull Barnet game, I just can't see anything interesting happening with that. I don't know. What are you thinking as your 3?
So I think looking straight down at this fixture list right now, I think the 3 that stick out to me are so you've got Solihull Barnet, like you just said. I also think Rochdale Southend, just with it being TV and obviously Southend needing to find some form. And then, call me biased, but I do think one of the tastier games of the weekend is probably Oldham away to Sutton, just because I think they are 2 of the stronger teams in this division and 2 teams that have started well enough. But I think either one of these teams will be wanting to use this fixture as kind of like a real sort of statement victory and sort of to kind of put the sort of fire on the season, really.
Yeah, I can see that, especially because it helps Sutton edge. I mean, if Sutton win, edge towards that that all elusive playoff places. Yeah. Definitely, I do see that, but also I feel like we should give one to not Oldham this week.
Yeah, that's fair enough. So then, if that is the case, then we have Rochdale or Solihull Barnet. I think we've got to go Solihull Barnet, right?
Yeah?
Yeah.
Look at that. I kind of half suggested that.
I know. Who'd have thought it? I actually listened to you.
Oh, crazy. I wouldn't after last week or 2 weeks ago.
Listen, don't be so hard on yourself. There's still 20 plus game weeks to go.
Oh, that's so sweet. That's very
Speaking
speaking
of
of which.
that, considering we don't have to stop at the minute for ad breaks because they get put in manually, shall we just motor on and look back very, very briefly in your case, but I might just stick the knife in a little bit on last week's predictions and talk about the state of the play and how many points am I ahead this week?
Look, Aaron. Okay. Look, I love you, but this is cruel. I'm trying to come up with an excuse as to why I did so badly this week. Let me think of an excuse. I've moved again for those who watch on video. I've got a whole new room.
Maybe what it is, you might just be a little bit shit at predicting scores, and that's okay, Lauren. You know,
I won last year. Okay, I won last season. You've got to give me some credit.
Even last season, it wasn't as wide as it was this season.
Right. I'm usually not bad at predictions, but I think it was just being here, there, and everywhere. I was distracted. I wasn't manifesting the scores, I didn't do brilliantly, basically, is what we're trying to say in a roundabout way, aren't we?
I mean, this didn't do brilliantly, and we said we weren't going to hang up on it, but I just needed to let the viewers know and listeners know we're not going to do a whole rundown of the program for last week because we've got other things to cover this week. But it is worth noticing that I picked up 11 points this week, or last week gone. Lauren picked up the singular point. 1 point.
Look, at least I didn't get 0, okay? At least I didn't get 0.
1 point from 12 games. Do you know how bad that is?
Out of a possible 36 points, I got 1.
At this point, I think you're just gagging for me to get you a tattoo. I think that's what it is. You're just that desperate for me to design something for you. You might as well just admit defeat at this point. I mean, we talked off camera. Lauren is next back in Manchester around Christmas time, and I said, why don't I just get you booked in for your tattoo then, and you can just call it quits halfway through the season, you know?
It's outrageous. It's outrageous. I don't deserve this. But yeah, so for those that have been following along with our prediction league, other than the fact that if anyone is backing me, which I don't know why you would be, but if anyone was backing me, I'm sorry. I do apologize. For those backing Aaron, why? Why would you do that? Why would you not back me? But the cumulative score up until this point is 1797.
Sorry, I think the audio just crumpled out a little bit. Just say that again a bit slower for us.
70 for Lauren.
Yeah.
97 for Aaron.
Nearly 100 in the season, not even done.
There's nearly a full game week difference. As in, if I was to get 100% in one and you got none, I would only just overtake you.
I mean, we've seen a lot of big bottles in football, right? In our time, probably watching football, we've seen a lot of football teams do big bottles. But I must say, if I somehow throw this away and end up in that tattoo chair,
clip it.
I genuinely, you won't ever see me do any podcast ever again. To be honest, I might just go and retire and take up fishing or something.
Take up fishing?
Yeah.
I can see it now already. A little, the little fishing bucket hats. I think you'd really suit it.
Thank you, I appreciate that. Anyway, so yeah, that is the lay of the land going into this week. So go on, considering you've got an absolutely huge task ahead of you to claw it back around. do you want to kick us off this week with your predictions, and so I can have a laugh?
Yeah, sure. Why not? Am I going to be bullied for taking? You know what? I know why it is. I know why I did shock him. It's because you were making fun of me for taking so long that I didn't debate it at all. Can you remember? I was so speedy. I was like, right,
It
I'm going to
sounds
blow
like
through my prediction.
it sounds like you're trying to gaslight me for being shit at your job. And you know what? This is 2024, so I'm gonna stand up for myself. Gaslighting isn't okay, Lauren. Think about what you're trying to do right now.
Look, I'm just bringing entertainment. Okay, my main job is to bring entertainment. Football knowledge. There is a lot of that in there in this noggin. Just it didn't come out last week, but it's going to come out this week. We're going to do a good job. Right. Let me get these scores out. I should have written this down beforehand, but we're going to do it now. So, first game of the week, we've got Aldershot versus Eastleigh. I'm going to give Shots the win. Surprise, surprise. I'm going to go for a 2-1. Why are you laughing? I'm going to give a 2-1 Aldershot win here. Yeah. Alty Gateshead. I think here, new manager Gateshead, they're going to want to have a good hit the ground running. New manager, fun, and Alty just
new manager fun. That is the level of analysis we've got from Warren this week, ladies and gentlemen.
Look, I've been planning my dissertation. You've got to give me a break. My brain is actually fried.
It's a good job I love you.
I know, it's almost like I'm using my brain this year for once. I'm actually doing my degree.
Can you believe it?
I think that Gateshead are going to win this game. I think they're going to beat Alty. 2-0, I'm going to say. That's my guess. I think new manager fun is like I don't think that's a bad,
I think the word you were looking for was probably new manager bounce.
No, I meant fun. No, I said what I said and I meant it. Okay, I said what I said and I meant it.
She said it with chest.
I did, with passion. Boston, Halifax. Obviously, Halifax had not a great time the other day. But also Boston are not having a great time all season, unfortunately. Which sounded quite cruel when I said it like that. But I said from the beginning that I wanted Boston to do well this year, but they literally, 4 losses and 2 draws in the last 6 is not a great result, really. And then obviously also losing in the FA Cup. They do need a win, but I don't think it's going to be this week, unfortunately. I'm going to say Halifax are going to win. 2-0. Why not? In the Daggers, that's a B, not a D. There we are. Daggers versus Fylde. And I'm writing this down as I do it, hence why I'm looking in lots of different directions.
We are ever the professionals here at the National League Natter.
Ever the professionals. Okay, Daggers, Fylde. I'm going to give... Surprisingly, I'm going to give Fylde the win here, which is rare for me. For some reason I've got lots of away wins so far, but I think that's going to continue. Fylde are going to win 2-1. Lots of 2s in this as well, as usual. Right, FGR versus Braintree. I'm going to give...
For those that are wondering, Lauren hasn't turned American, and in case you need to wonder, FGR is obviously Forest Green Rovers, right?
Yeah.
We're not in the NBA.
No. Forest Green Rovers. I'm going to give Forest Green the win. I'm going to say they are going to win just 1-0. For Maidenhead versus Hartlepool, I'm going to say it's going to be a 1-1 draw, that game. First tie of the first draw of the games. Solihull versus Barnet. I'm going to say Barnet are going to win. I wish that I could be more interesting than that, but I can't because I'm not an interesting person. Haha, joking. I'm going to say... Anyway, I'm going to say that Barnet are going to win. They're going to win 2-1. No, 3-1. I hope you enjoyed that little internal commentary there. That little internal commentary was good. Right.
Oh.
Sutton versus Oldham. Look, this is the comedy that I come to give, you know.
Yeah, it's a good job because you don't have a lot of football prediction knowledge here, so it's a good job you bring some.
Wow. That was brutal.
This podcast has turned into an absolute clusterfuck, and I love it.
When's it not? Right, Sutton, Oldham. You know what? Just for that, Sutton's gonna win.
Ooh.
Yeah. Sutton's gonna win 2-0.
The thing is, though, I know she don't mean that.
Well, Sutton's gonna win 2-0, so I've
off
written it down.
Off camera, she'll be telling me how good Oldham are.
I would never say that.
That's what she always does.
Tamworth Woking. I'm going to say it's going to be that's also going to be a draw, I think. It's going to be a 2-2 draw.
Fence sitting.
I've only put 2 draws, but they've been well thought out.
To be fair, fence sitting when you are 21 points behind is quite impressive, to be honest.
I'm 27 points behind.
Even I don't know how big the gap is. That's how big it is.
Wealdstone, Yeovil. I'm gonna give Yeovil the win.
Nice.
1-0 win to Yeovil. Nice away win. There's so many away wins in my predictions.
That means there's gonna be a lot of home wins this week.
Yeah, it's the week for the away teams. I'm telling you. Mark my words. York versus Ebbsfleet. York are gonna win. I'm sorry, Ebbsfleet, but you're having an absolute shocker this season. 13 games in and 6 points is it's not great, unfortunately. As much as I don't like to see it, but yeah, York's gonna win. York is going to win by 3-1.
Nice.
And then finally, in the TV game, Rochdale versus Southend. Rochdale are gonna win. I think they are, and that's my in-depth analysis there. That's gonna be a 2-1 to Rochdale.
I think when it comes to predictions, you're like the Aaron Ramsey of like predictions. Do you remember that time when Aaron Ramsey was playing for Arsenal, and every time he scored, unfortunately, a celebrity died like the night of or the next day? Like that's you. Every time you predict somebody to win, you know they're gonna lose. So everyone that Orange has predicted to win, then I'm sorry about the weekend you're gonna have.
Yeah, I do apologise that I have now jinxed you all to a week of horrible, horrible football.
Anyway, should we let the professional do his job now and extend the lead, or what?
Go on then, if you're going to say it like that.
So, Eastleigh at Aldershot, I think Eastleigh are going to win.
Oh, okay.
I think Eastleigh will win 2-1 away from home. I also think Gateshead will beat Altrincham. I think this will be a 1-0 Gateshead win. I think Boston will get a point against Halifax. I think that'll be 1-1. I think it's so difficult to predict Fylde because they're about as inconsistent as my legs at the moment. So there's a part of me that wants to there's a part of me that wants to predict them to lose, but then there's a part of me that thinks that Nick Horton will run the show and they'll get another big impressive win. So I'm gonna go with my heart and I'm gonna say Fylde are gonna win that game.
Copycat.
And I'm gonna say 2-1 to Fylde.
Oh, proper copycat.
Forest Green Rovers versus Braintree. Forest Green are going to win 3-0. Maidenhead versus Hartlepool. Managerless Hartlepool. Is the interim going to want to throw his name in the ring for the permanent position by getting a good couple of results? I think so, maybe potentially. 1-0 Hartlepool. Solihull Moors Barnet. I'm going to be brave. 2-2.
2-2.
Yeah. Sutton, Oldham Athletic. I can never back against the boys, so I'm going to say 2-1 away win for Oldham Athletic.
Beautiful.
Tamworth, Woking. I think Woking will win this 2-1. I, like you, Lauren, can't see anything other than, even though I said that they desperately need it, I don't think Wealdstone will beat Yeovil, so I think Yeovil will win this 1-0.
See, I can't be that bad at predicting if you're joining me on a couple of these.
York versus Ebbsfleet. I'm going to go big and I'm going to go 4-1 York.
4-1 York.
Yeah. And Dale versus Southend. I also can't see Rochdale not getting maximum points, unfortunately, and I'm going to go 2-1 Rochdale.
Yeah, is this tactical? Is this so that
See,
gap?
She thinks I'm in her head. That's how you know. That's how you know I'm so far clear. She's like, I'm so in your head. I'm so in your head. It's a joke.
Okay.
Go on, give us the top to bottom.
From top to bottom, we have the Aldershot Eastleigh game. I've gone for 2-1 to the home side. You've gone 2-1 to the away side. So nice. I've got Aldershot winning. You've got Eastleigh winning. Alty versus Gateshead. We've both gone for some new manager fun. With a 2-0 win for me and a 1-0 win for you to Gateshead. Boston versus Halifax. I've said that Halifax are going to win. Are going to win against Boston 2-0, and you've gone for a 1-1 draw. They're going to share the points. Dagenham versus Fylde. We've got both going for a 2-1 win to Fylde. Forest Green Rovers versus Braintree. We've both gone for a win to Forest Green. I've only gone for a 1-0 win. You've gone for a big 3-0 win. Maidenhead versus Hartlepool. I've gone for a draw here, splitting the points just 1 goal each. And you've gone for a 1-0 win to Hartlepool. Solihull versus Barnet. I've gone for a 3-1 win away for Barnet, and you've gone for a 2-2 draw. Sutton versus Oldham. I've gone for a 2-0 win to Sutton. You've gone for a 2-1 win to Oldham. Tamworth versus Woking. I've gone for another share of the points with 2 goals each. And you've gone for a 2-1 win for Woking. Wealdstone versus Yeovil. We've both gone for a 1-0 win to Yeovil. York versus Ebbsfleet. We've both gone for lots of goals in this game. I've gone for a 3-1 win to York. You've gone for a 4-1 win to York. And finally, we both agree that we think that Rochdale will beat Southend 2-1.
Happy days. I mean, all I have to do is score this week, get some points on the board, and I'm still leading into next week. That's how bad it is for you.
Yeah.
Wow. For those that are watching the YouTube video, if you couldn't just see the look that Lauren just gave me, I think she's gonna kill me. By the way, so if you
eyes
don't hear,
clouding over with just like fear.
If you don't hear from me again, you know it's because Lauren struck me out before she got the tattoo. So yeah. This is a confession tape. So anyway, right. So we are clocking in a little bit earlier than an hour this week. But before I do the outro for us, Lauren, is there anything that you want to wrap up on? Anything you want to say?
Not really. I mean, I'm glad that we're back. It's been weird having a week off. Although there has been some exciting football to talk about since then with the qualifiers and obviously lots of new draws. It's just nice to be back and, trying to battle for my life.
It is very nice to be back. And it is very nice to be the one in charge of the predictions league right now, if I'm being honest. But I'm saying I'll preface right now because I'm not going to get cocky. As much as I want to be like in Lauren's face right now, I'll be like she did to me. This is a difference between mine and Lauren's presenting styles, by the way, just in case people were wondering. For any viewers that listened to the show last year, then you would know probably from about week 6 or 7 when the league started getting big for Lauren. She was giving it big uns every week,
Yep.
and I just had to sit there and take it.
I know.
And I am being diplomatic with my points total at the minute because she doesn't deserve the trolling that she gave me. So I am the better person. But yeah, I'm happy to be on top.
I'm impressed with the self-restraint because I didn't have it. I tried, but I was so excited about doing decently that it was bursting out of me, and then it's kind of bit me on the bum, hasn't it?
Anyway, that is enough of us rambling. So on the review show on Monday with me and Chris, you will get a review and a preview because we will be reviewing the weekend's game, but also looking ahead to Tuesday night's fixtures as well. So that'll be a bit of a bumper episode. So make sure you're locked in and ready for that. Make sure you like and rate the podcast wherever you get your podcasts. Leave any comments on the YouTube channel. The 5 stars really help us out. We really appreciate it. And until next time, we have been National League. This has been your National League Match Day 14 preview, and I will see you on Monday. And Lauren, I will see you again next Thursday.
See you next time.